Jennifer's back again. Are you guys ready to do some art? You ready to get art? Then you're ready to get smart. Let's get started. You're going to want to take your art kit and open it up. Slide everything out. And this is what we're going to need for the first project we're doing, which is salt painting with watercolor. You're going to have your tray. This is to catch stray paint, drips, spills. You're going to want to also grab your directions. Open up your directions, and on top will be directions for salt painting with watercolor. Take that off. And just put the rest of them back in the bag. You're also going to want to grab this bag that says Basic Supplies. Open this up. Take out your watercolor paper. Take out foam plates. We're going to use these for palettes for mixing color. Take out your water container. Painting towel. Colored pencils. Watercolor paint. We have tubed watercolor paint, and this you will have enough paint to paint for the rest of the summer. After we're finished with our projects, you can paint whatever you want. And take out your paintbrushes. Put everything aside. And one more thing, we're going to take out the bag that says, here it is, salt painting with watercolor. Move everything else out of my way. In this bag, you will have a pencil, some glue, and 2 containers of salt. This is kosher salt, which is a coarse-grained salt, and table salt, which is a fine-grained salt. Okay, so let's get started. The first project we're going to do, number 1, you can refer back to your directions. Take a piece of watercolor paper and remove it from your pad. Now, take a pencil and let's draw. Draw lightly. You can draw a pattern, you can draw a picture, you can draw a John Deere tractor, William. You can draw cats, Xander. You can draw whatever you'd like. You can draw shapes, you can draw anything. I have just come back from the beach. You see how tanned I am? I have beach on the brain, so I think I'm going to draw a beach creature. I'm going to draw a sea star or a starfish, as I was taught to call them. So just going to do it kind of lightly, and if you make a mistake or you don't like what you've done, you can just erase it. This erases very nicely. I think this leg is a little too fat, so I'm going to erase. This one, I don't like this one either. There I have my starfish. And because I love starfish so much, I think I'm just going to draw a heart here too. So now I'm done with my drawing. After you've completed your drawing, and take as long as you need to, you would want to keep the shapes fairly simple because we're going to put glue on them, and you don't want a big gluey mess. So once you've got your drawing done, you're going to open your glue, and I like to take another piece of paper and just make sure that I'm not putting out too much glue, too big of a blob, because I want to keep my glue on the line here. Okay. Got my glue. Now I'm going to just go over my drawing. Take your time with this, go slowly, and go around your drawing. Don't worry if it's not perfect, because when you put this, we're going to put salt on this glue, and that's going to sort of spread the glue out a little bit, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Move your paper around. It's much easier to move your paper around rather than trying to go over wet glue. I outlined this starfish. I am also, show you something real quick. Here we go. This is a real starfish. I found this one on the beach. I found this at Folly Beach. And you can see it's got all these little dots on it, which are connected to the suction cups on the bottom, which help the starfish eat and move. And I love all those little dots. This is another starfish, a smaller one. There's a million different kinds of starfish. This is the bottom of that one. So I'm going to put some dots on my starfish. And I did not draw those on. I'm just going to put some glue dots. And this is going to take me a while to get all of these on here. Also, what I'm going to do is, this is going to be an outline with the heart. I want the heart to be filled in. So I'm going to fill in the heart with glue. I'm going to outline it, and then I'm going to fill in the inside as well. And you can do that too with your shapes. You can fill them in or outline them. Whatever you want to do, because as you know, no rules in art. Not in Miss Jennifer's class, no rules. Okay. So now that I've finished with all my glue, the little dots I put on, I'm going to want to take your table salt. You take a paintbrush. I'm going to take it, pinch, little pinch, and sprinkle. Sprinkle, 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 all over the glue. Don't worry if it gets a little messy, it'll be fine. After this dries, we're just going to tap our paper and get off the excess. So now we have this, and I will continue with my dots until I have enough. And when I'm finished, I'm going to let this dry. It will definitely be dry in a day, and then we'll come back. Okay, hi, we're back, and guess what? My starfish is dry. Isn't that pretty? I kind of like it just with the salt, but we're going to do some watercolor. So what we need to do here we're going to take a plate or a palette, just a palette, and some paint. Your watercolor paint, as I said before, is in tubes. I'm going to take some blue. These tubes, to open the tube, you need to take the top off. There's a little pointy thing inside the lid. You want to stick that, so stick the lid on upside down, and that will poke a hole in the little aluminum lip that's on the tube. And then you can squeeze some out. And squeeze some out. I'm going to use some red as well. And again, take this and pop. As you can see, it's off. Okay. And we'll take a different color blue. This is another blue. Cerulean blue. Pop the top. And so we have some paint set up. You may use whatever color you like, as many or as few colors as you like. I'm going to take a paintbrush. Need a paintbrush and need some water. I'm going to pour water out of this bottle, but tap water is fine. I'm just not near a sink right now. I'm going to try this first with my tiny brush. You guys have a really tiny, pointy little brush, and see how that works. So your paintbrush will be somewhat stiff, and that's just a sizing or a glue, this type of glue that is put on the paintbrush when it is manufactured so that it keeps its shape. So the first thing you want to do with your paintbrush is put it in the water and just kind of smush it around a little bit. Okay, and there you go. Now, the watercolor in the tube needs to have water added to it. So I'm just going to take some water on my brush and add it, like so. And I'm just going to get a little tiny bit to see how this works. I'm going to touch it to the salt. Wow, that's good. That's really good. See how pretty that is? And I'm going to touch it. You just have to barely touch it, and the salt absorbs the color. Rinse my brush off because I'm using a different color now. I don't want all my colors to get mixed up. I'm going to do some red. Let's see how this looks. Do the heart. Let's see. Look at that. Look at the watercolor spreading through the salt. Can you see all the little grains of salt here in the heart? It reminds me of the little dots that are here. So nice. So, you will want to finish putting watercolor on all of your salt and let it dry, and then you'll have project number 1. Welcome back to part 2 of salt painting with watercolor. For this project, we're going to take another piece of paper out of our watercolor pad. I like to put my paper in this aluminum tray. You can use newspaper, any kind of paper, paper bags, anything, just to keep the paint from going all over your house. This paper for this project needs to be wet. You can wet it with a paintbrush. You can wet it with a towel. I think is what I'm going to do. You can also wet the paper. You want to wet the whole paper. You can also wet the paper with the spray nozzle that's on your kitchen sink. This towel is working very well, actually. So, all right. So I've got a wet piece of paper here. Let's see. Okay. We'll curl up a little bit, but don't worry about that. Now I'm going to mix some paint up. I am going to use black, I think, for this one. Again, pop the lid off. Some on my palette. And I'm going to mix it up with some water. Even though the paper's got water on it, we still need water in the paint. I'm going to use a bigger brush for this. This one of the flat brushes. And I'm going to put this on, touch this to my wet paper. Look at that. That's cool, huh? Look at that. This is pretty nice just by itself without the salt. Haven't put the salt part yet. So here we go. You can also lift your paper up and let it drip. I want to cover the paper, most of the paper, or all of the paper. I'm seeing some leopard spots. How about you? And while you're doing this, don't worry about anything. Just have fun with the paint and the water. And see what kind of shapes you create. It's really neat. Everyone's is going to be different. Every one of these would be different. So, okay, now a little more paint on here. More black paint. here. And you know what I'm going to do? I think I'll take a little bit more dirty water. Let's see what that does. Oh, see what that does. Oh, yes. Wow. That's looking good. It's looking really good. So now we have our wet paper with wet paint, and we're going to go in with our kosher salt. And this is the kosher salt, coarse grained salt. We're going to take it and just sprinkle it wherever you might like to sprinkle it. Do you see right here where the salt's absorbing the paint? Just making little shapes and areas of interest here. You could do as much or as little as you'd like. See how the salt is different, how it looks different on the areas that have just a little bit of paint. So, there you have it. Now we're going to let this dry. This will probably take about 24 hours to dry. Once it's dry, we'll go back in and you can use pencil, your colored pencils. You do have a pencil sharpener that comes with your art kit, or you can use more watercolor paint, or you can use markers if you have markers at home. Go back in and see what shapes you see what do you see bugs? Do you see stars? Do you see flowers? Do you see John Deere tractors? Whatever you see, go back in and just add to it once this is all dry. Okay, here we have a piece that's dry. This is different than the one we just did. Everyone is going to be different. You can see how the salt has dried on here. So I'm going to look at this and I'm saying to myself, what do I see? I see. You see what I see? I see a jellyfish, is what I see. It said I've got the beach on the brain. So I'm going to kind of go in and like make this, add some jellyfish parts to this little shape here. You see that? What else do I see here? I see a fish right here. You see the tail? I see. I'm just going to keep going and finding shapes, and I can put shapes in here as well. There's no salt here, but you can see where the paint and the water sort of separated here, so I can make this into something too. This will be a make-believe sea creature of some sort. And just keep drawing. Keep drawing or painting with your watercolor until you have a beautiful piece of artwork. I hope you've enjoyed salt painting with watercolor. We have a survey attached to this class. Please fill out the survey and let us know what you think. Also, I will post my finished pieces on Facebook. If you could send me yours also, that would be fantastic. I'd love to see what you created. Thank you. Bye. See you next time.